See, this is a little tricky because I remember Tyreek Evans did this in Sacramento, but I don't think he averaged as many assists. So I'm going to say that this is Donovan Mitchell.
Okay, and
8 and 8, that's a little tricky, but only 16 points. I'll say this is Ben Simmons.
All right, let's see.
I think they're...
Let's see.
Yeah.
It's LeBron and Ben Simmons. That's pretty close.
Well, I know for a fact Tyreek Evans did this also. So
but that's not relevant here.
It's like a point, or whatever.
But let's make the point. Let's have the discussion. We're not saying LeBron's the only person ever to do that. The point we're making is Ben Simmons, all things considered, equal if not better numbers as a rookie. Right? Well, he's not the scorer that LeBron is, but if he develops that offensive game, that I think is the point that Hembo's trying to make.
But that's why I want to bring in Tyreek Evans into this conversation, because he was 25 and 5 in Sacramento as well.
Nobody wants to bring Tyreek Evans.
To bring you on like 0.5 or 0.3, that's being petty.
Okay.
Wow,
let's just move on.
Salty right now.
Don't get mad at me for looking at you.
It has become every bit as much an annual rite of spring as the azaleas at Augusta and the belief among Met fans that this is their year.
Oh.
It's that moment when we laugh at ourselves for ever thinking LeBron James wasn't going back to the NBA Finals. Do you remember when Isaiah Thomas was in Cleveland? Remember when they lost 8 out of 10, when their defense gave up 148 points one night? Remember when Boston and Philly and Toronto and Washington looked like legit contenders? Yeah, neither do I. As always, when it matters, the best player in the world, and maybe ever, has his team right where it needs to be. The last remnant of contention disappeared from the East yesterday with the news about Kyrie Irving. Now, this Celtics season was star-crossed from the very outset, obviously, but on this morning, I would suggest to you it probably wouldn't have made much difference anyway. LeBron would have found a way, as he always does. So, gang, I'm setting the number at 3.5 Cavaliers playoff losses in the Eastern Conference. Is anyone at this table interested in the over?
Over.
Yeah, I'll take the over.
3.5 losses in the Eastern Conference playoffs.
Yep.
1 in the first round, 1 in the second round, 2 in the conference finals. I'm going over.
Who's the 2? Who's in the conference final with them winning 2 games from them? Toronto?
Right now, I have to say Toronto. Based on
I don't agree with anything that your essay just
Okay, well, let's hear it.
None of it. And also, because I still don't think it's a guarantee. But I'm also not in the group that you referenced that every year we think this is this. I don't. I've always really thought that as long as LeBron was playing on a team, they're pretty much the ones coming out of the East. This is the first year, and I know it's as if the stars are aligning. Every possible thing that could go wrong for any other possible contender keeps happening. The Kyrie news yesterday was devastating, and it just happened to be overshadowed by craziness. But it was a really big story because for a lot of us, Boston, although I still hold out for Toronto, had a legitimate shot, but I still don't think that this is a given. I really don't.
If for no other reason, look at the inconsistencies of the Cavs throughout the season. They still can't play defense. They're still trying to figure out their lineup. And let's not forget, if someone on their team gets hurt, we're looking at the Kyrie Irving news. What if someone on their team gets hurt? Now they're potentially not making it to the Eastern Finals.
Well, look, yes. I mean, injury is always the outlier in all of this, in all of sports, and I can't account for that. If LeBron gets hurt, then all bets are off. But he seemingly never does.
No, he doesn't.
Look, I will take the under on that, and we can we'll set the stakes a little bit later, but we will have a little fun with this at this desk. I have the under on 3.5 losses for the Cavaliers in the Eastern Conference playoffs. Now, there's a lot more NBA conversation to have. Let's stay with the Cavs, who, again, came back from a 17-point deficit last night to the Wizards, and LeBron scored 13 of his 33 points in the fourth quarter, and afterwards said, I don't have a quit bone in me. Jalen, did you take this as LeBron sending a message to the rest of the East yesterday?
This wasn't about LeBron James because you guys did a statistic earlier in the show that said when he was in this position, he had lost like 150 straight times.
152, yeah.
This was about the Washington Wizards, a team that's been an enigma all season. They actually played well yesterday. They had 6 players in double figures. John Wall was terrific until the last couple of plays of the game. And I was disappointed in how they melted down more so than how the Cleveland Cavaliers, led by LeBron James, were able to pull out a victory.
There's only one other team in the East now since Boston is injury-plagued, and you look at Toronto, they're all mentally messed up, and that's Washington that can contend with the Cavaliers. So LeBron James and his team was sending a message last night in the fourth quarter. You know what? The one team that can really test us, we're going to show you, down 16, you still can't beat us. So to me, they were sending a message.
How much do you think that is that we just piled on Washington all season long while John Wall was out, saying, yeah, they're better without John Wall. Look how much more of the team they are. And then now that he is officially back, is that plaguing them at all? Is that in their back of their mind?
Absolutely it is. And here's a team that doesn't mind touting themselves also, Beats. Coming into the year, we felt like other than the Cavs and LeBron James, Could it be Washington? Could it be Boston? They were in the conversation.
They love touting themselves.
No question.
Really?
They were the team that last year, after they lost, said, boy, the Cavaliers are relieved not to play us. That's one of the 5 stupidest things I've ever heard anyone in sports say my entire life. Feel free to show up in Game 7 and go take your shot at them. Don't talk about how lucky they are not to have to play us after you got knocked out. All right, meanwhile, yesterday, as we touched on the big news, Woj reporting that Kyrie Irving is done. It's over for the entire playoffs. The left knee is the problem. He'll undergo another procedure on Saturday to remove screws from his patella. So, the question is, what can the Celtics do in the playoffs now?
What the Celtics can do is build confidence in their young core group and also value. I think when and if the Celtics take the championship leap, it's going to cost them one of their young stars, whether it's Jaylen Brown or Tatum, Rozier and or Smart. They're going to have to parlay a couple of those players into an all-NBA caliber performer, probably Kawhi Leonard.
Yeah.
So with that being said, now all of a sudden these guys get more minutes without Hayward, without Kyrie Irving, on a bigger stage in playoff situations.
Have they not dealt with this all season, though? I mean, literally start on the first day of the season, 5 minutes in. Gordon Hayward goes down. We say, well, it's over for Boston. They haven't been with Kyrie for a minute now. They're doing okay. I mean, have we not given them enough credit for what they've been able to do?
Yeah, but playoff basketball changes.
Sure.
You have to have guys that can get their own shot. And we all realize that their playoff success this year is probably going to be limited because of Kyrie. I'm looking big picture, and I'm concerned about this basketball team. I've had that same screw in my knee, in my patella. I've had all those stitches and things like that. They've been taken out. And let me tell you, it's never going to be the same. So Kyrie Irving will never, ever be the same. I've been there and done that. So I'm concerned about their long-term viability. Even when Gordon Hayward comes back, what is Kyrie Irving going to be like? Because he's the one guy other than Gordon Hayward on that team that can get his own shot consistently.
It's an interesting perspective. Let's go to the West. Warriors, as we touched on earlier, got blown out by the Pacers last night. They lose by 20.
See you nap time.
So that's Golden State now, a 3-game losing streak. And let's play the Steve Kerr sound we referenced earlier. Here was Kerr after the game.
Just in general, it's hard to win an NBA game if you don't put forth at all. I'm embarrassed. I mean, I know that this game doesn't mean anything in the seeding. The playoffs start next week. It's an embarrassing effort, pathetic effort.
I think we care. I mean, I think everybody's locker room cares about playing ball. So I disagree with that, but I understand what he's doing.
Okay, so I hope it was all easy for you to hear there because a little bit faint, but Kerr was basically criticizing the effort of his team, and KD was saying, I don't agree with that at all, and you referenced it earlier. He said they came out with a better strategy than we did. Do we see this as anything of a problem in Golden State?
Not necessarily, but I think as a player, I would assume if your coach comes out and says lack of caring, I would actually take that offensively as a player, especially if I do care. So I don't see it so much as he's going against his coach as much as saying, no, we do care. We just got beat.
But the problem for KD and the reason why he was truly upset is the players that got off of the Pacers other than Oladipo played a forward position. Bogdanovich had a big game. Thad Young had a big game. And they were guarded by one Kevin Durant. So when your coach comes out and says your team lacked effort, in theory, he's talking about the guys that got off against our players. And that was on KD last night because those guys were terrific on the road.
And the Warriors are fighting the thing that every coach loves to fight, complacency. Like, you can't fake the real thing. We did a lot of rehearsals for this show, but it was nothing like the real thing on Monday. Right now, these are rehearsals for the Warriors. When the real thing pops up, they're hoping they can flip that switch. Sometimes you can, sometimes you can't.
I agree. That's why I was a little surprised that Steve made as big a deal of this as he did yesterday. Clearly, he's trying to send a message. Whatever message it was, Kevin Durant did not seem to like it. We'll have much more basketball as the show